Welcome back to the Succeed with Dyslexia YouTube channel. In this series, we discuss news that goes on in the dyslexic community. So make sure you like this video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. In terms of latest news, we're going to discuss a few different segments. In the first segment, Ernst & Young opened Neuro-Diverse Center of Excellence in Boston. In segment number 2, Government Communications Headquarters Jobs, or GCHQ, dyslexic thinking skills are mission critical. And finally, in segment number 3, Dyslexia-friendly books and the little bookshop behind them. This week, the multinational professional services network Ernst & Young announced the opening of their 6th Neurodiverse Center of Excellence. It's a hub of neurodiverse talent designed to apply the unique skills and methodologies of people who learn and think differently. To meet clients' business needs, it's opening with a founding team with cognitive differences such as dyslexia, ADHD, autism, and Asperger's syndrome, joining Ernst & Young's client teams of almost 2,300, working in fields such as cybersecurity, tax, and insurance. The world of business for people with neurodiversities can be a difficult one. Although there's a lot of data to suggest that people who have neurodiverse brains excel in a business world, over a quarter of CEOs are thought to have dyslexia as opposed to the only 10 to 15% of the world's population. Many people find the prospect daunting, and many businesses still hire an overwhelming predominance of neurotypical candidates. It's estimated by the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention that up to 85% of adults with autism are unemployed or underemployed, a shocking figure when we consider that we find similar employment data across many forms of neurodiversity. Although the Ernst & Young only opened their first Neurodiverse Center of Excellence in the United States in 2016, they've expanded quite rapidly and plan to open centers in South America, Asia Pacific, and Europe to truly explore what neurodiverse talent can do on a global scale. When it comes to jobs concerning the Government Communications Headquarters, or GCHQ, people with dyslexic thinking skills are mission critical. So, what makes people with dyslexia so successful at GCHQ jobs? GCHQ is somewhat of a destination for neurodiverse professionals at all levels of their career. Kevin explained that dyslexia thinking skills are mission critical for GCHQ jobs at the moment, and that they are 3 or 4 times more likely to take on a neurodiverse apprentice. Everybody loves a good bookshop. But Books on the Hill in Clevedon, Somerset, isn't your average bookshop. Stocking bestsellers, children's stories, and a whole host of exciting titles, they're also thinking about text accessibility in a truly commendable way, which could be music to the ears of any avid reader who has dyslexia. Alistair Sims, who runs Book on the Hill, has dyslexia himself and is hoping to crowdfund the resources to create Open Dyslexia, a series of titles optimized for adults with dyslexia. It is their aim to publish 6 to 8 books in a dyslexia-friendly format. Using an easy-to-read font and wider spacing structure, their hope is that this publishing style will better support readers with dyslexia. This may make it easier to engage with the text in comparison to traditional paperback formatting, which uses serif fonts, tight lines, and white pages. Mr. Sims has identified titles by classic novelists and up-and-coming local authors, and aims to build on the work that publishers like Barrington Stoke have done in creating many dyslexia-friendly books for children and young people. Up next, we're going to cover some material on social media and see what recent news has been trending on various social media platforms. Starting on the threads of Facebook, we have a post by Lena Van, who talks about one of the great achievements of a young girl named Addie. Lena said, speaking about Addie, "So proud of her perseverance and drive, placing first place for 7th grade girls in the Bobby Rap run today. Addie was diagnosed with dyslexia over a year ago now. She has been working hard. Her confidence in herself and belief in herself has grown 100% since working with her reading program. She went from struggling in the classroom to excelling in her 7th grade year. She's in the paper tonight making the honor roll and just stepped way outside her comfort zone playing her first fast pitch game yesterday. Watching her and all the young runners push through their pain made me so emotional. Thanks coaches for pouring into them after school. My cup is overflowing and I'm beyond grateful and so proud of you, Addie. I'm proud of all the kids that participated. Over on Twitter, we have a post by the Dyslexic cop who talks about a great accomplishment moving forward with his force. Last week was a milestone for dyslexia support in my force. I secured funding to train 14 staff as accredited dyslexia and SPLD work-based assessors to help people get the support they need and overcome challenges in the unique policing environment. They all passed and are ready to help. Jumping over to Instagram, we have a post by Farmhouse Schoolhouse who talks about their eldest son. Today we're celebrating what my eldest learned in his anatomy strand this term. No tricky wording to trap him or limiting bubbles to constrain him. Just the freedom of an empty sheet of paper, some pastels, and the testimony of what he received and studied. Jumping over to LinkedIn, we have a post by Damon John who shares an empowering short story. See this kid? He grew up thinking he wasn't smart enough because he didn't discover he had dyslexia until he graduated high school. He failed time and time again. He got made fun of, doubted, and mocked for choosing to pursue an industry that was different than the status quo of everyone around him. He worked over 80 hours a week to make his dreams come true, and he knows that if he can do it, so can you. And finally, on TikTok, we have a post by Violet Summersby who poses the question, what are some of your dyslexic traits?
Here are 3 things people with dyslexia do that nobody talks about. Let's go.
Let's talk about how you read time backwards. 312, sorry. Not to mention the fact that you skip words when you're reading.
The cat in the hat.
Or to top it off, you skip letters.
Possibly even misplace letters.
While writing the sentence, I put a C instead of an H.
For whatever reason, sometimes your brain simply cannot organize the letters to
You speak dyslexic.
This is the feature portion of this video. And in this segment, I'd like to introduce you to Jared Blank. And if you're new to this series, we recently interviewed him in episode 1. And just a recap on Jared, he's an individual who ran 7 marathons in 7 days on 7 different continents. And he will be discussing with us some of the things he's doing to support the dyslexic community.
Yeah, so with the World Marathon Challenge, one of the things, as I was getting ready to run the 7 marathons in 7 days on 7 continents, was before all this began, I connected with the International Dyslexia Association and specifically the Oregon branch, and was able to meet with the president because I wanted to make this challenge bigger than just running. I wanted it to be about the community, and came up with a plan to raise $50,000 for the organization while I was training and running this challenge. And so met with the president. At the time it was Jane Cooper, now Daniel Thompson, amazing leaders within the community, and came up with this idea to raise $50,000. And when I finished the World Marathon Challenge, I hadn't yet met the financial goal. So I decided to run the Tahoe Rim 100 and continue to fundraise for the goal. And through a very generous donor, who I don't even know today, we were actually able to surpass the $50,000 mark.
Wow, that kind of puts into perspective, while you and this donor may be kind of strangers to each other, the cause in itself, you never know what people are willing to get behind, that to me, that actually really pulls on my heartstrings, that somebody that doesn't even know you, but the cause, links the two of you. And for, whatever amount of money that is insane. Really cool people in this world. So I understand you work with the Student Technology Panel in Oregon. Could you tell me more about that?
Yeah, so we have a really cool, so the Oregon branch out here is dedicated of all volunteers. So it's an all volunteer-based organization, and we have people that started this student panel. And what the student panel does is they go around and talk about their experiences in the classroom as we do teacher trainings. So the Oregon branch will do a teacher training, a simulation, what it's like to experience dyslexia. So you see teachers that maybe haven't experienced dyslexia or have an awareness of it, and then all of a sudden now they're a light bulb goes on as they're kind of dealing with this challenge in the simulation. And then from that, and after sharing information, we bring on the student panel and they share their experiences in the classroom. And it's probably one of the most powerful things we do. And these students really become game changers in helping educators see what it is that they're dealing with in the classroom. And that, I think, can really change the culture around education as well.
Coming to the end of this discussion, with young people who are kind of in the midst of discovering, either that they have dyslexia or discovering the tools as they're working through dyslexia. What are some of your, obviously being diagnosed at a very young age and, living a lot of your professional life with dyslexia, what advice would you give to younger people who are kind of in the discovering phase or in battling the early onsets of dyslexia?
If I was talking to young people or even a younger version of myself, I would remind them that dyslexia doesn't affect your IQ. You can still be successful and accomplish your goals and dreams. There just might be different approaches that you need to take in order to get there. And so I think that's important to remember as you're going through it. There are very hard moments. There are very tough, challenging moments as you're in a traditional classroom setting, but that's not on the student or that's not on the individual as a person or someone with capabilities. So I think that's just something to keep in mind as you're going through the school system and you're dealing with that. I was always told that having dyslexia at a young age is like running with a cut on the bottom of your foot. There's going to be painful moments, but it's not impossible and you can still go on to achieve your goals. And I don't think the person that told me that thought I was going to take it as literally as I did, but that was my journey for sure.
Thank you so much, Jared, for giving me some of your time. I think that's a good place to wrap up. Like I said, it was really great meeting you and talking to you, and best wishes in the future with your running and dyslexia endeavors. So.
Thank you. You too. Yeah, great meeting you.
That brings us to the end of this video. If you found this informative, please consider liking this video, subscribing, and hitting that notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. We'd like to thank Scanning Pens for sponsoring this episode, and as always, thank you so much for watching.